But what happens is when you actually look at the raw data, you find some interesting things. And one of those things, it relates to the stated marketing costs that WCW incurred in the year 1999. So prior to the Nitro era, again, according to the methodology that TBS employed, typically, if you were to look on the expense side of the ledger and look at how much money is WCW spending on marketing, or how much is being attributed to WCW, because those can be two different things, that number was typically less than $750,000. So in 1994, for example, it was $747,000. In 1995, the cost goes up to $1.13 million, which kind of makes sense in terms of the company's expanding. Nitro starts that year. Okay, so 747,000 to 1.13 million. 1997, we go now to 2.195 million. And if you look at the sort of overall increase in the budgetary expansion of WCW, that again sort of tracks and kind of makes sense. So now let's go to 1999. So in 1999, the total amount that was attributed to WCW with regard to its marketing costs, and I hope people are ready for this number if they haven't read the book already, was $23.85 million. Okay, so we have come from less than $1 million pre-Nitro to 1.13 to 2.195, and now in 1999 we're at 23.85 million. Well, according to the Turner books, they registered WCW or marked down WCW as posting a loss in 1999 of $11.03 million. Okay, so if we go back to that marketing side of the equation, if you take 1997 as a baseline, 2.195 million, and you look at the broader expansion of the overall budget from 97 to 99, it was an increase of 103.84%. Hope everyone's following me here, right? So overall, the cost of WCW's operations from 97 to 99 went up by 103.84%. If you apply that to the 1997 marketing cost, 2.195 million, you get a number of 4.474 million. You can tell I've been working on this for a while. These numbers are still fresh in my head. 4.474 million for 1999. In other words, you could reasonably project, if you were sitting there and looking at this expansion from 97 to 99, this is kind of where our marketing expenses should be, based on how traditionally it has been categorized within Turner. But you might say, well, hold on. In that intervening period, a couple of things happened. You had Thunder that was launched in 98. You had the WCW rebrand in 1999. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's double that expected cost of 4.474 million, which gets you to 8.95 million. So let's account for that expansion. Let's double it again. And what you would see is that still in 1999, just based on this one change in cost categorization alone, WCW would have been recognized as a profitable entity. So that is accounting for the salaries, accounting for the increased expense of the operation, accounting for the fact that pay-per-view revenues and ticket sales and so forth declined in 1999. Even with all that being said, just that one particular change, which according to the sources that I have was based on an internal shifting of costs from the television networks to WCW, just that in and of itself was enough to put the company in a position where it was losing money for that particular year. Finally, because I know it's been going on for a while, people might say, well, hold on, what did things look like then in the year 2000? Okay, because you've established that the baseline was here. There's a massive jump. So from 97 to 99, that's an increase of 987%. That's pretty big. So what happened in the year 2000? The marketing costs on the books were still enormous in the year 2000, 18.48 million. And even until the very end, the early part of 2001, the company, again, based on what the book said, was still expending an enormous amount on marketing, $2.4 million in the first 60 days of 2001, which is more, even when you control for inflation, than 1994 and 1995 combined. Remember those numbers I mentioned earlier. So in case people were wondering, are we just talking in generalities here? And there's other specifics we can get into. And again, I try to be thorough, but please, interject if you want. But I just wanted to highlight that right off the bat to show people, yeah, that's actually kind of a big deal, because just that one change changes, the way that we look at WCW, I think, and wrestling history as a whole.